Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How's everybody doing? Good? Alhamdulillah. So inshallah ta'ala we are continuing with ayah number 6. First let's just revisit really quickly ayah number 5, in which Allah ta'ala said, Ba'd a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytanir rajim. Innal abrara yashrabuna min ka'sin kana mizajuha kafura. Indeed, the righteous will drink from a cup of wine whose mixture is of kafur or camphor. And now the ayah that we're taking a look at now is عَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ بِهَا عِبَادُ اللَّهِ يُفَجِّرُونَها تَفْجِيرًا. A spring of which the servants of Allah will drink, they will make it gush forth in force or in abundance. So the reason I connected to the last ayah is because all of it is connected in the sense of this is the whole section about the reward in paradise. So Allah Ta'ala mentioned that they'll have just this small mixture of kafur, and then this ayah is now saying in ayah number 6, عَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ بِهَا. So the first thing we take a look at, Allah is describing the ayn or the spring, and it is mansub, it's aynan, not aynun. Why is that the case? Because it is copying or following suit, it is connected to the mansub of kafura. Therefore, it's a badal for it. You could say that it's replacing it. That the kafur, it's a aynan, it's going to be a spring. And what's interesting is that the previous ayah was describing how it is exotic and rare, and now it's talking about this exotic thing that's rare that you think of in such small quantity. Now it's coming in huge quantity, in abundance, really showing the delights of paradise. Furthermore, the fact that it will have its own spring gushing forth. This is reminiscent of the fact that Allah Ta'ala describes even rivers of wine in paradise when Allah Ta'ala says, وَأَنْهَارٌ مِّنْ خَمْرٍ لَذَّةٍ لِلشَّارِبِينَ. As Allah Ta'ala mentions in Surah Muhammad, ayah number 15, that there will be rivers of wine delicious to those who drink. Now what's interesting here is the harf. عَيْنًا يَشْرَبُ بِهَا. So biha is interesting. Why? Because the previous ayah mentioned, إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ يَشْرَبُونَ مِنْ كَأْسٍ. That they will drink min. Yashrabuna means to drink. They will drink min. They're from. So it's a little amount. It's a smaller amount in the previous ayah. It looks like it's a smaller reward. You're just going to drink a little bit from this kas. Then Allah says, Aina yashrabu biha. So this is reminiscent of Surah 83, which is Surah Mutaffifin, ayah number 28, in which Allah says, Aina yashrabu biha al-muqarrabun. So it seems that there's tiers. To enter into paradise as a good person, that's from the abrar. But now Allah Ta'ala is describing ibadullah. It seems to be a higher level. They seem to be similar to al-muqarrabun, the highest, those who are closest to Allah Ta'ala, those who are brought close to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. For the muqarrabun and for the ibadullah, the highest level, it's yashrabu biha. That they will be, and the indication here is that they won't just drink from it. It's like they're going to be irrigated with it. It's like a spring that they can even swim inside if they wanted to. It's just going to be in abundance. Whereas the other group, they will have it in portions, in amounts. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, and that's why it's the word, the harf min is used with it. So this is part of the really special detail and fine detail in the Quran. Subhanallah. Then ibadullah is interesting because their first description was al-abrar, right? The people who are righteous. What's interesting again is that, as I mentioned last week, al-abrar is coming from a person who is bar. And bar means a very righteous person. However, it also means al-bar is the source of goodness. It's the name of Allah. Now Allah Ta'ala is associating them in the next ayah with His name again. Ibadullah, the slaves of Allah. So you see how both names are associated with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in a certain way. And this is something that really goes to show how close they will be to Allah Ta'ala. And now this spring is being described as what? يُفَجِّرُونَهَا تَفْجِيرًا. That they will make it, يُفَجِّرُونَ. They are the ones who are going to make it gush up and forth in abundance. They're the ones who are going to do that. How will they do that? Well, there's a few answers here. One is that this just could be figurative language. In other words, it's not literally that they're doing it. Rather, it's gushing forth for them. And so the verb يُفَجِّرُونَ, as if they're the ones doing it, right? But another opinion, which I think is a stronger opinion, is that no, it will be them. Why? Because everything in paradise will be subjected to them. You don't have to go visit that spring to get a drink from it. Rather, you could just simply, with your will, think, I want it to come up now. And so from the ground, this spring will gush forth. And it'll be available no matter where you are. Whenever you want drinks, whenever you want food, whenever you want anything, it will just pop up. It will be there for you, ready. SubhanAllah. Now, I did mention at the beginning of this dars, of this surah, I talked about how there's a ring structure. And I talked about particularly when you take a look at the different sections, they, the first one and the last one match up, the second one and the second to last one match up, the third one and the third to last one match up. So there's this ring structure in the surah. Well, one particular point was how this section, ayats 5 and 6, describing the amazing rewards of paradise, they correlate with 23, 24, 25, 26. These ayat that are all about the revelation of the Quran. So wallahu alam, I think that there's a correlation here. Why? Because the spring isn't the type that you have to go to, rather it gushes forth wherever you are. But you're the one that makes it gush forth, right? يُفَجِّرُونَهَا, they're the ones doing it, right? In a similar fashion, the Quran that you memorize is with you all the time. You don't have to go to the Quran. The Quran is with you. Why? Because you memorize it. You know it. So everywhere you go, it's with you. However, when will it actually spring up? It'll spring up when something happens, and then you decide, that reminds me of a particular ayah. And so you're the one that quotes it. So subhanAllah, it's as if Allah Ta'ala, wallahu alam, there seems to be this parallel that in a similar way that you have this Quran, which is a spring of knowledge and a spring of guidance that you can memorize in your heart and carry with it wherever you go. And you're the one that gets to allow it to gush forth with wisdom and knowledge whenever the occasion arises. In that similar fashion, Allah Ta'ala, you could say, is paralleling that in paradise you will have these springs. And this is the type of spring that it'll just gush forth wherever you are, whenever you want it, as long as you just have to will it. SubhanAllah, just like a thought, similar to the way a thought comes up about Quran. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam bis-sawab. Thus far, when it comes to the people of paradise, it seems that there are thus far three descriptions. The first one was shakir. إما شاكرا وإما كفورا. The second one was إن الأبرار يشربون, al-abrar, the righteous. And the third one is ibadullah. So the fact that Allah Ta'ala is describing the believers in these different ways, it really is something you need to focus on. That do I feel gratitude to Allah Ta'ala? Am I somebody that tries to do birr and goodness in my life? And number three, do I feel that I am enslaved, that I am completely subservient to Allah Ta'ala, that I have that awe, that fear, and that khashya? Furthermore, like I said, it seems that these two are describing the two tiers. One which is getting a reward, the other one's getting the even more abundant reward. Al-abrar, it's very good, but ibadullah is even higher. So this is something that seems to be consistent in the Quran. We know that in Surah Waqi'ah, there are two tiers to the righteous. What are they? Someone can help me out. Right at the beginning of Surah Waqi'ah. Waqi'ah. At the beginning of it, there's three groups that are described. There you go. So you have Ashabul Maymana, Ashabul Mash'ama, and then As-Sabiqun. As-Sabiqun, As-Sabiqun, Ulaika al-Muqarrabun, right? So yeah, you could call them Sabiqun or Muqarrabun. But the point is that you have the people of the left hand, those are the evil ones. But as for the two tiers of the righteous, there's the people of the right hand, and then those who are the foremost runners, the people who just sprint for that extra. They want to get ahead, right? And those are the ones that are going to be close to Allah Ta'ala. So you have this two tier of goodness in Surah Waqi'ah ayat 5, Surah Waqi'ah ayat 8 and 10. You also have in Surah 35, which is Surah Fatir, ayah number 32, Allah Ta'ala describes al-muqtasid, al-muqtasid, the moderate, as in the believer who is middle. You know, he's very good, but he's only middle. And then the forerunners again, which is sabiqun bil khayrat. Allah Ta'ala describes sabiqun bil khayrat. So this is a consistent thing, that throughout the Quran you find that Allah is describing, look, there are those who are good and there's those who are great. The big question is, what differentiates them in terms of behavior? And I think there's a hadith, Qudsi, in which Allah Ta'ala says, من عادى لي وليا فقد آذنته بالحرب. I will declare a war against anybody who shows hostility to one of my pious worshippers of mine. And then وما تقرب إلي عبدي بشيء أحب إلي مما افترضت عليه. And the most beloved thing which my slave can come near to me with is the things that I have obliged for him. So this seems to be the base tier. Al-fara'id, doing your obligations. This seems to be, when it comes to the person who is muqtasid, when it comes to the person who is ashabul maymana, right, or ashabul yamin, or al-abrar, the good is doing what you have to do, what you've been obliged to. However, then the hadith goes on, وَمَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ. And my slave will continue on getting closer to me by performing nawafil. He doesn't want to stop at what's obligatory. He wants to keep doing extra and extra and extra until I love him. This is the description. This is al-muqarrabun, those who have been brought close. As-sabiqun, those who are racing and saying, I don't just want to stop at what's necessary. I want to rush ahead of everybody else. Sabiq, I want to be first. I want to hustle. So this seems to be what differentiates these two tiers. It's the Muslim who does the obligation only, which is good, and then the believer who continuously gets closer to Allah through voluntary deeds, which is the best. Now, in terms of the term ibadullah, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I want you guys to guess. How many times do you think ibadullah is mentioned in the Quran? Just throw out a number. It's okay. I don't expect anybody to know it.
50.
Actually, mashallah, it's actually 7 times. 7 times the term ibadullah, like the servants of Allah, is mentioned. What's interesting, what I find interesting, is that 5 out of the 7 are mentioned in Surah Safat. So the other 2 are here in Surah Insan, and the other one is in Surah Dukhan, Surah 44, ayah number 18. The rest of them, all Safat. 40, 74, 128, 160, and 169. All those are in Surah Safat. So anyway, the only reason I mention this is because I'm quite excited to eventually one day get to Surah Safat and see why Allah Ta'ala makes this a surah all about ibadullah. Like this has to be a heavy term, and it must be heavily explored in that surah. Moving on, well, let's take a look at one more ayah, inshallah. Allah then says, so we just covered 2 ayat that were the descriptions of paradise. So naturally, after hearing these ayat, the believer is naturally going to want to know, what must I do in dunya to get all this beautiful drinks and reward in paradise? I want these springs of paradise. I want the reward. I want to be close to Allah Ta'ala. What do I have to do? Now we've entered into the next section, ayat 7 to 10. So 7, 8, 9, and 10, these 4 ayat, they are all about what you have to do, what are the believers like in dunya. So we're only going to cover one of these ayat today. Allah Ta'ala says, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ يُوفُونَ بِالنَّذْرِ وَيَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا. They are the ones who are these people in paradise who are getting these drinks and so forth? They are the ones who fulfill their vows, and they fear a day whose evil will be widespread. 2 qualities here. 1, يُوفُونَ بِالنَّذْرِ. So, أَوْفَى يُوفِي ifa'an means to fulfill a promise. And what's interesting is that both of these verbs, yufuna bin nadri wa yakhafuna, means it's in the present tense, al-mudari', lil istimrar. It's indicating continuously. They continuously fulfill their oath or their oaths, and they're continuously in fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not a one-time thing, that this is the general state that they're in. They're always wondering, what is owed upon me? What must I do? What do I owe to Allah Ta'ala? What do I owe to the believers? What do I owe? So I have to fulfill my obligations. Constantly the thing is, yufuna, it's present tense. They're constantly doing this. Yufuna bin nadri wa yakhafun. The state of their heart is continuously in a state of fear of Allah Ta'ala. It isn't in a feeling of arrogance. Usually when you fulfill all your oaths, you do all of your obligations, you might get a sense of arrogance. I do everything I'm supposed to do, I'm the man, right? No, there's always the sense of humility that is associated with it. Yufuna bin nadhr. Nadhr means an oath. So who is this oath to? So 2 opinions. I think the first one is the strongest. The one opinion is that this is the vow to remain faithful, the vow to Allah Ta'ala, to do good deeds, to submit to Allah Ta'ala. As Allah Ta'ala mentions that He asked all of our souls in the alim al-arwah, alastu bi rabbikum, qalu bala shahidna. That Allah said, am I not your Lord? And we said, yes, we have testified. So we had this agreement to obey Allah Ta'ala. This is the oath of iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. This is the covenant that you make 17 times a day. It is you alone that we worship, and it is you alone that we seek help. Seek help to do what? To worship. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I've only created you to worship me. Or you could take a look at إِنَّا عَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ فَأَبَيْنَ أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا وَأَشْفَقْنَ مِنْهَا وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانِ. Allah says that indeed we offered this trust, this amana. Do you want to be able to do both good and evil? Do you want this chance to go to heaven? Do you want this ability to go through this test called life? Everybody else was afraid of this, but the human being said, I can handle this, I'm going to take it. And so وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَان. The insan undertook this huge job. So I believe this is the nadhr, this is the oath that we have to be continuously fulfilling. The second opinion is that it has to do with promises that you make in your life. Wallahi, I'm going to do this. Wallahi, I'll do this. Wallahi, wallahi. However, in general, making oaths is not really encouraged. It's really kind of discouraged. It doesn't make you a good Muslim to say wallahi, tallahi, billahi, and to make all kinds of oaths, to make a nadhr, to make an oath with Allah. Ya Allah, if you give me cure to my disease, then I will fast for this many days, or I'll give this much money in charity. This is not something that is encouraged. Instead, rather, the believer should just give in charity. You know that Allah Ta'ala is going to bless you when you do more deeds, when you give charity. So what you're supposed to do as a believer is you say, I'm sick, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, I'll give money in charity, and then I'll beg Allah Ta'ala to cure me, and I'll wait for the cure. Not that I'm going to make this sort of conditional thing. I'm not saying it's haram, it's perfectly halal to do so. You can make a nadhr. Say, Ya Allah, if you cure me of this sickness, I'm going to, I don't know, go for Hajj, or I'm going to put $1,000 in the masjid, or whatever the case is. You can do that, and then of course you should fulfill it, obviously. That being said though, the better way is to just simply say, I'm going to put money and beg Allah Ta'ala that He cures me. Why? Because of the Hadith Qudsi, لا يأتي ابن آدم النذر بشيء لم يكن قدر له. The vow or the oath does not bring about for the son of Adam anything that I have not already decreed for him. You're not going to force Allah to do anything. You see, by saying, if you give me this, I'll do this. You're not pushing and forcing Allah to do anything. It's already decreed anyhow. And the Hadith goes on, ولكن يلقيه النذر إلى القدر قد قدر له فيستخرج الله به من البخيل فيؤتي عليه ما لم يكن يؤتي عليه من قبل. That the vow does not bring about for the son of Adam anything I have not already decreed, but his vow may coincide with what has been decided for him. And by this way I cause a miser or a cheap person to spend of his wealth. So subhanAllah, the good thing about the oath is what? That just because you made that oath, it's kind of like forcing you to be charitable. You know, I swore once I get healthy, I'll give $100. So alhamdulillah, you give that $100 once you're healthy. It's like Allah is pulling it out of you. So He gives me, or He spends in charity, for the fulfillment of what has been decreed for him, what he would not give me before, but for his vow. So it was only because of the vow. And the third opinion is that it's both. Of course, and that makes sense as well, that it's both. What the oaths that you make to the dunyawi, and also the oath that you made that you must obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worship. What's also interesting, like I said, that the internal and the external. Yufuna bin nadhri, I'm fulfilling my oaths, that's the external. You go around, you actually live that and fulfill your oaths. Yufuna bin nadhri wa yakhafun, that's internal, that's your heart. Wa yakhafuna yawman kana sharruhu mustatira, that you have fear in your heart. So this is covering both the internal and the external, so there's a very beautiful balance in this ayah in and of itself. And another term for this is integrity. Another term for this is loyalty. This is the quality of the believer, that they are loyal, they have integrity, they fulfill their vows. You can trust them. When they say something, they're going to do it. So this is the first quality that we're seeing in the believer, that they don't have this arrogance, rather they have fear of Allah, but they fulfill their oaths based on their loyalty and on their integrity, mashallah. And not for any reciprocity. It's not just like, I expect from you in this dunya. No, my reward's with Allah. I'm not doing it for the sake of something you will give me. And Allah says, كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا, that it has always been the case. This is something that is so certain, it's like it already happened. So the kana here is giving that emphasis. كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا. Istitara means to be widespread, like intashara. So the evil on that day will be so widespread in all aspects of a person's life, covering every joy. Oh, what about this joy? It'll be covered by the fear and the danger and all of the terrible things happening on that. Everything will be covered. Nothing will be spared on that day. It will be covered with fear and sadness. So that's what mustatira means. So widespread that every aspect of one's life. Oh, but what about, family-wise or friend-wise or this-wise, that? No, everything will have this fear over top of it on that day. Another perspective is that the evil of that day will be widespread to all the factions of society. Nobody will be spared. This idea that I have a bunker and I'll be okay. No. Rich and poor, strong and weak, irrespective of class, culture, language, race, doesn't make a difference. Now, the final thing I'd like to talk about is oaths, because it's from a fiqh perspective, we should know that what are the conditions of making an oath. If you're going to say, Wallahi, I'm going to do such and such if such and such. You make a nadhr. It's called a nadhr. It's an oath that you're making. I'll slaughter if my child is born healthy, or whatever the case is, right? Actually, that's a bad example. So any sort of, I'll fast extra days, or I'll give extra charity if something happens, if I get this job, or if I get married, or whatever the case is. So what are the conditions of the oath? Number one, it can't be an oath to perform a forbidden act. You can't say, Wallahi, I'm going to do something haram, like I'm going to go kill that guy, or whatever the case is. You can't make an oath that is haram. The Prophet says, "Man nadhara an yuti' Allah falyuti'hu, wa man nadhara an ya'siyahu fala ya'sihi." Whoever vows that he will be obedient to Allah should remain obedient to Him, and whoever made a vow that he will disobey Allah should not disobey Him. And in fact, the Prophet continues in a different hadith, "La nadra fi ma'siyatin wa kaffaratuhu kafaratul yamin." kafaratu yaminin. There is no vow to commit an act of disobedience, and it's expiation. So you have to do the expiation, the kafara immediately. And the expiation is the expiation of an oath. So there's a certain expiation for an oath, which we'll talk about in a second. So you have to do that expiation if you made an oath to do something haram. The second thing that you can't do in terms of an oath is something, an oath that you already have an obligation for. Wallahi, tallahi, I'm going to pray my 5 daily prayers. Yeah, you already have to do that, so there's no, Ya Allah, if you give me this job, then I'll start praying khams salawat. What are you talking about? You already have to give your, khams salawat, it's already obligatory. Because then the person might say, I didn't get the job. See, now I don't have to do my 5 daily prayers. It didn't work from the beginning. You get the point? Only if you say, I'm going to give extra money, and you don't get the job, then you say, okay, I won't give the extra. That's fine. But if you say, I'm going to do my 5 daily prayers, it doesn't matter if you got the job or didn't get the job. This making an oath on the obligatory doesn't work. So yes, that seems pretty obvious. So in terms of an expiation for an oath, Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Ma'idah, ayah number 89, that Allah will not impose blame upon you for what is meaningless in your oaths. If you say wallahi, just like some, especially the Arabs, wallahi, wallahi, habib, wallahi, they just say it quickly. So sometimes they say things like that and they don't mean it. So it could be that Allah Ta'ala overlooks this. Allah will not impose blame upon you for what is meaningless in your oaths, but He will impose blame upon you for breaking what you intended of an oath. If you say, no, I'm being serious, wallahi, I'm going to do this, right? If you break that, so its expiation is the feeding of 10 needy people, of the average of what you feed your own family. So an average plate, an average meal, 10 people you have to feed. You can do it in one shot. Or clothing them of what, clothing them, so average clothing, you can do that. Or freeing a slave or a servant. Freeing a slave, this is something that doesn't really apply these days, but still it can be done, so it's part of it. But whoever cannot find or afford to do any of those 3 things, then they must fast for 3 days. You have to fast for 3 days if you broke kafaratul yamin, it's called, the expiation for breaking an oath. You said you were going to do it, you didn't do it, you have to fast for 3 days if you can't do the other 3. Last hadith I'd like to mention about oaths, the Prophet says, "Man nadhara nadhran wa lam yusammihi fa kafaratuhu kafaratu yaminin." Whoever vows a vow and doesn't state specifically what it is, then the expiation of doing that is the expiation of breaking an oath. So you say, "Wallahi, I'm going to give." Give what? I didn't say. But then you didn't do it. You just said you were going to give. Well, I never said what I'm going to give. Oh no. Okay, now you have to do the expiation. Why? Because you weren't clear and you didn't fulfill it. وَمَنْ نَذَرَ نَذْرًا لَمْ يُطِقْهُ فَكَفَارَتُهُ كَفَارَةُ يَمِينٍ. Whoever vows an oath that he's unable to do it. Wallahi, I'll go to Hajj, this year, but you couldn't afford it. So you said you were going to do it if you got the job. You did get the job. You didn't go to Hajj because you couldn't afford it. Therefore, you also have to do what? Kafaratul Yamin. You have to do what, as was mentioned earlier in the ayah, Surah Ma'idah, ayah number 89. And the last one is, وَمَنْ نَذَرَ نَذْرًا أَطَاقَهُ فَلْيَفِي بِهِ. That whoever makes an oath and he's able to fulfill it, then fulfill it. So that's the obvious one. Just do it. Just do it. And simply put, guys, just take your foot off the gas pedal of wallahi, tallahi, billahi. In my opinion, there's no real point. I don't know why people talk like that so often. You really just don't have to say it. To be perfectly honest with you, if I'm speaking to somebody and they don't really believe me and they're like, say wallah. I'm like, look, if you don't want to believe me, don't. Like, I'm not going to, just don't. I don't care if you, no, but say wallah. I'm not going to say wallah for you. Because who are you? You don't like it? What are you going to do? Nothing. So leave me alone. Not that I have a problem saying wallahi, I have no problem saying it, but I feel like, who are you that I have to swear by Allah to you? You know what I mean? And I just don't, as a habit, it's not something that I really do. And I don't really suggest it for anybody else either. As the Prophet says, it's not going to change qadr anyhow. Like, wallahi, if I get this, ya Allah, I said wallahi, I'll do it. If you give me this, it's not going to change qadr. So you might as well just give the charity that you're going to give, do the good deeds, and then pray to Allah, and then be humble, and Allah's going to give you, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those who hear these ayat and try to apply them to fulfill our oaths and to have fear of Judgment Day. May Allah Ta'ala make us of those who enter into paradise. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakallahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.